This past weekend, Impact Wrestling decided its undisputed Impact World Champion. I'm Alexis Carrillo, right back here with another edition of ACB Wrestling Talk, and this past weekend, like I mentioned, at Sacrifice, the Impact World Champion Rich Swann beat the TNA World Heavyweight Champion Moose to unify the titles and become the undisputed Impact World Champion. Now, why is this important? Well, because on April 24th at Rebellion, the Impact World Champion Rich Swann will challenge the AEW World Champion Kenny Omega in a title versus title match that's certainly going to make history, because I doubt that the titles will be unified. I doubt those titles will be unified, but one of those two will be the both AEW World and Impact World Champion, or so we think. Because here's the thing, when I saw on social media that Impact Wrestling was sanctioning the TNA World Heavyweight Championship for Moose, that raised quite a few eyebrows, simply because Impact Wrestling is not a company big enough anymore to have two world champions. That could have happened back in 2012 during the Hogan and Bischoff regime, but right about now, they are pretty much number 3 in the North American wrestling market, a pretty far number 3, far away from the number 2 that is AEW, so that raised a few questions on my part. And now, if you ask me, who would have walked out of Sacrifice, or who would have walked out regardless of this match taking place anywhere, anytime, between Rich Swann and Moose, I would have said Moose. I would have put the title on Moose, because I think he has been on a roll for Impact Wrestling. Rich Swann has been a fighting champion. He has proved that since October, since Bound for Glory, since he won that Impact World Championship. But I just think that out of every single superstar that Impact Wrestling has showcased on their show week in and week out, Moose has been the brightest superstar on that show. Whenever Moose showed up on an Impact Wrestling broadcast, you paid attention. And I guess I get it, if Moose had won that unification match, a unification match which I was expecting for the Rebellion pay-per-view, not for Sacrifice, not for an Impact Plus special, but nonetheless, if Moose had won that match, he most likely would have kept the TNA World Heavyweight Championship and retired the Impact World Championship, which does not make sense. And I get it, a lot of fans want TNA Wrestling back. They want Impact Wrestling to change names yet again back to TNA Wrestling, and that's just not going to happen. Come on. It's been 3 years, almost 4 years now since Impact Wrestling changed its name to its now official name, so come on, another name change for a company that's been a laughingstock throughout its entire existence? Come on. But nonetheless, Impact Wrestling now has, in my opinion, in my view, 3 options to go with the title versus title match at Rebellion. Number 1, the most likely decision, or the most likely option they could take, is they could have Kenny Omega beat Rich Swann and become champion of both companies. You could carry both titles around. And for the most part, I think this would lead to Kenny Omega just appearing on AEW for the most part, and making, his obligatory appearance once a month on Impact Wrestling. Because again, he's the heel in this program. He is not gonna care about Impact Wrestling, a company that he is not even contracted by. And of course, at Sacrifice this past weekend, we just saw Finn Juice become the Impact World Tag Team Champion. So it is possible that superstars or wrestlers from other companies, quote-unquote the Forbidden Door, win championships elsewhere. So, and then there's option number 2. There's option number 2, which is Rich Swann beats Kenny Omega. This is just an option that I do not see quite possible. Like I said, Rich Swann has been a fighting champion. He has been a great champion for Impact Wrestling, but at Hard to Kill, he did get pinned by Kenny Omega. And for the most part, ever since this collaboration between Impact Wrestling and AEW started, Impact Wrestling has been made to look like the second-tier company to AEW's top class. Now, obviously that's up to the fans to decide, but that has been the case. So Rich Swann, I don't think he's going to beat Kenny Omega for the AEW World Championship. I don't think they're going to have Rich Swann carry both titles. I don't think that's ever been discussed. I don't think that's a possibility. Like I said, respect Rich Swann, respect his work, and again, anything can happen in wrestling. He could beat Kenny Omega in what I'm sure will be a fantastic match at Rebellion, but we still have option number 3. Now, if I were a betting man, which I'm not yet, I would say that they're going to give us a non-finish at Rebellion. And they're going to make up for that non-finish with an angle. An angle that has proven to work pretty good in the past. You know, just the angle itself on that very first night. And the angle that I'm talking about is an invasion angle. Because we could have a scenario in that match where Rich Swann is about to beat Kenny Omega for the World Championship. He's about to pin the cleaner. And then members of the AEW roster come out, cause a DQ, and an invasion storyline starts between both companies. And vice versa. Kenny Omega could be about to pin Rich Swann. And the whole Impact Wrestling roster could come out and cause a DQ and start this invasion angle. Ultimately, I think that's where they're going. That there's no other possible way. I think AEW, Impact Wrestling, New Japan Pro Wrestling, and maybe in the future, hopefully in the future, Ring of Honor Wrestling and Major League Wrestling as well, and the NWA, they've all realized by now that in order for them to compete with the juggernaut, the leader of sports entertainment, the leader of the professional wrestling industry, that is WWE, they need to work together. And I hear a lot of fans talking about how, how is this beneficial for this company? How is this beneficial for that company? They're talking about the company. They're talking about wrestling itself. And it's been proven in the past. TNA tried this back in 2010. And it didn't work. And AEW's been trying this since its foundation, since they started Dynamite. And it has not worked. They haven't reached the heights that the WWE represents. And that's not through a fault of their own. It's just that WWE is that damn big. WWE is the name. They are the mainstream brand. And, hardcore wrestling fans, they're going to talk about all these other obscure companies for years and years to come. But you want to go mainstream, you got to get people talking about you. And that's what they're doing. All of these companies collaborating to try and put up a bit of a fight against WWE. But those are my thoughts. I think that straight up, I don't think there's going to be a champion of both companies. I don't think Kenny Omega or Rich Swann are going to walk out with both titles out of Rebellion. I think it's going to be a no DQ finish, a non-finish, like I said, that starts an invasion angle that's going to lead all through the summer and try to bring us some great entertainment, great value, and hopefully, a proper ending by the end of this year and proper collaboration that continues between these companies. But again, these are just my thoughts. Anything can happen in professional wrestling. What are your thoughts? Who do you think walks out of Rebellion as both AEW and Impact World Champion? Leave your thoughts on the comment section below. And if you agree with me in terms of the non-finish and the invasion angle starting up at Rebellion, go ahead and leave that down there too. I've been Alexis Carrillo. It's been a pleasure to be discussing all these options with all you guys, and I'll see you in the next video. Have a great night.